IVM.
Tejaswin and Ranveer.
What's up, man?
Dude, okay, again, let's get serious suddenly.
Okay.
So, dude, the biggest reason, on a personal level, I want to do hustle science was to give a kid somewhere some kind of reference, especially those kids who are serious about running businesses, launching startups, because we never had that. Right now we're on the brink, we've just incorporated and we're facing all these early level startup problems and there's no one to guide us. I want this podcast somewhere to go and help some kid who doesn't know anything about startups.
So we are talking to Pranav Marwah, who runs an incubator called thinQbate. And it's relevant to us because we are exactly in that stage where startups think about getting into an incubator, think about getting investments.
What is an incubator?
Okay, so an incubator is just like how babies get in, babies are put in incubators.
Like
to,
really
give
sick
them.
babies, jo thode se like they're a little bit sick.
Yeah, but I always thought that all babies were put in incubators. I didn't know that.
Okay.
So to basically nurture them. Okay. So similarly, startups, when they're babies, they need nurturing. They need to be taught methods of how to make a startup a good functioning, a well functioning company. Right. In the current definition of it. And that's what incubators do. They teach you, they strategize with you, they help you out, they mentor you, they provide you with the dirty work which normally as an engineer who's just 18 or 19 or even 25 would not even have thought of.
Like ऐसे भी चीजें करनी पड़ती है startups. But also the one point I do want to make is that I feel that irrespective of whatever profession you're in, there are some startup related skills and some just life skills that you can pick up from the startup world. And today's show is all about just that skill set.
Definitely, man. I think just starting a startup, irrespective of if you can do it or not, I am personally of the opinion that you should go for it. Because if someone is, say, not serious, they will like burn out pretty soon and they are going to like fail very soon. But someone who actually shows an effort, the amount he or she will grow in the process is crazy. So
if not for money, do it for yourself, for personal growth.
Definitely. There's a lot of personal growth in
hustle science is primarily for people who are chasing that personal growth. Especially if you're in the business side of things, listen to the entire show today. Even if you're not inclined towards business, just listen to the show. You'll pick up some kind of life skills. This will benefit you in some way.
Definitely.
Let's just dive into the episode.
Let's go.
What's good, you guys? It's Beer Biceps, Ranveer, Tejaswin Gumber.
What's up, man?
And we got a Punjabi powered podcast today.
Are we all Punjabis?
Yes, we are.
Oh, crazy.
We got Pranav Marwah from thinQbate, which is... Personally, that's the only Bombay, India-based incubator I know of. So, and I'm proud to say that he's my senior from school.
Okay.
And I've seen him performing at like school plays and things. So it's cool that we're on the same podcast.
I like
right
that.
Now.
That's your point of contact. Like I saw this guy performing in the school plays, man.
I don't know. He's a villain in this one skit we had. Either way, let's get to...
The crazy thing is I don't remember that as clearly as well. So it's incredible that he does. But thank you so much for having me on here today.
Yeah, very glad to have you here, man. Okay, we gotta talk firstly about you. Dude, so we're from the same school. You went abroad to study and now you're running an incubator in Bombay. How did all this happen?
Right from the beginning, your story. Throwing it at you.
I hated law school. I went to law school, finished, but absolutely hated it. Came back, did a bunch of things simultaneously. Worked real estate, falling back into the rut of perhaps some way of family business that's been around for a long time. Did a postgraduate in sports management whilst I was doing that, and then sort of tried to look for different ways to try and build longer term value. I certainly had the opportunity to work with two incredibly talented 22-year-old kids who had built the world's first automated chessboard. They sort of just like blew my mind with what they had built. And I worked with them, sort of invested in them and worked with them for about 7-8 months in getting a product out there. And I'm proud to say that they've grown many-fold ever since. But that sort of triggered the interest in, you know what, there's an infrastructure that I've been very fortunate to be able to have been curated, to have been presented with. And it was about how can we try and deliver longer lasting value using those same set of resources, but also giving our time. Because that was the most, what we felt, perhaps the intangible that most incubators often tend to miss out on.
Okay. So you wanted to build something India specific? Like, was that like a part of... Like,
I think the shift is, I mean, I feel like when you say India specific, last year when we started out, we were Bombay specific, Mumbai specific, very clearly. We didn't look at any investment opportunities or incubation opportunities outside of Mumbai. Why? Because why would anybody want to work with me? Who am I? Why would anybody want my money? And it was a question of trying to control as many variables that we could in a city like Mumbai. I've born and brought up here, lived here my entire life. And I've been fortunate enough to curate a network in a city like this where we can help businesses grow sustainably.
Do you think Mumbai is the place to be for a startup in India?
I don't think there's any one particular place. I think there are certain sectors where if you're operating in that business, to chalo aa jao Bombay. Like it makes a lot more sense to do that. But if you're doing something that's completely unrelated and you feel perhaps it has no bearing on where you're situated, I don't think we're living in the new age, man. Technology doesn't need us to be in one location to operate in a second location.
Okay, I think we have fast forwarded a lot. Like, we've got to go back a bit. Like, can you give context? Can you explain what an incubator is? Like, there are more places. There are things like accelerators as well. How are they different, and what exactly?
Yeah, sure. So an incubator normally has a longer duration program than an accelerator traditionally would.
Okay.
Accelerators. Let me dial it back and give you guys a little bit of macro in understanding. So there's 3 different kind of accelerators, incubators, and maybe here I'll bucket them together.
Okay. Can we give like the listeners a little more context than that, because a lot of people are just not even familiar with these words. So for a 5-year-old, how would you explain an incubator?
You have a business idea, you think there are strategic resources and some kind of help or value that you're trying to bring, and you think that the customer is willing to pay for your product. We're here to try and help you grow that business, whether it be by giving you, investing in you.
I like how we asked him to dumb it down further. No, further, dumb it down more.
No, so it's basically about, we're a soldier on the team, right? So it's always good to have more soldiers on your team. So that's the role we try and play.
So a startup who has a business idea comes to you and says, listen, you will incubate us, you will mentor us through the whole process.
So incubation is, there's various elements of it. The way we look at it is more enabling. We enable it by whether it be giving advice, to being a soundboard, to providing technical guidance, to helping with strategy, to giving sales opportunities. It's not one size fits all. Every business, every team, every person has something else that makes them tick, right? There are different triggers in everybody's mind or business. Our aim is to try and find those triggers within a business and then make them try and, double down on them.
What's the process? So if I come to you with a business idea, what do you look for in me? Do you look for me do you look at me as a guy, okay, am I capable enough, or is my business idea good enough? Like, what's your process? What goes on in your mind?
Good people are the hardest to find. I think for us, because we try and come in very early, where perhaps you just started getting a certain amount of revenue, or you have 5 paying customers or 10 paying customers, and are slowly building out your digital profile perhaps. That's where we like to play ball a little bit, because that's where we feel like we can actually try and bring value. If you were a company who already had large scale operations, we wouldn't be the right person to help you. But when you're starting out, we want you to focus on product. Right? We want you to focus on sales. We take care of everything else, from accounts, legal, compliance, all of that whole crazy nonsense that pretty much every founder who's not worked in the corporate world for 15 years has perhaps never even heard about. That's our duty. And it's about let founders do what they do best, which is build. Right? Build content. Ranveer does it incredibly. Build content, right? All of you guys are in this, it's incredible to see that there's so much subjectivity to content creation that is so beautiful, right? There has to be no time, there's no age, there's no experience. It doesn't, it's beautiful. When you know it, you know it. When you have it, you have it, and the public is your validation, right? And that's changing things for us also a lot. Because we've actually seen strangely people talking, perhaps early stage companies talking less about funding and more about how they're creating content and delivering a narrative. And that's good to see.
Dude, so I want to ask you 2 questions. One, initially, how did you get people to I won't say invest in you, but join the incubator initially, like before you had all these companies you're working with? And secondly, what's the business model of an incubator?
Yeah. So I'll walk you through like how we sort of started out. It was strange. Like I told, that first sort of investment opportunity came. I come primarily from real estate, which I've been away from now for the last 2.5, 3 years. But that enabled me to sort of use existing resources and try and leverage them a little bit. Simultaneously, I actually had one of my closest friends from growing up move back to India.
Okay.
And most people are in a situation where you, as a professional, Indian professional working overseas, you either move back to India to start up or to join a family business, because it doesn't make sense of going to a corporate job. Rupees and pound, man. Most basic difference. He actually moved back to join a family business that was a startup.
Okay.
And they've grown again manyfold in the last 3 years. They're one of the leading CGI animation studios in the country.
Wow.
If any of you guys have watched Troll Hunters on Netflix or Blinky Bill the movie, it was all of these were made by Assemblage. Assemblage is sitting in Sakinaka churning out incredibly good content.
Wow.
So I was fortunate that he came back and sort of we came together and said that, you know what, there's a skill set that we feel that we can aggregate. There's an amount of resource that we feel we can put together. Let's see if we can build relationships. Everything for us is about relationships to a large extent because we try not to be transactional. It's not going to take us 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, a year to build credibility in an ecosystem like this. We have a long-term plan, right? So if we're playing the longer game, we're happy to take smaller steps every single time getting there. And hence we always found that don't look for businesses, look for people. Look for people who you want to back. Maybe they won't do well in the first venture, or the second venture, maybe they'll knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, man. Because even like with Ranveer, we're working in a startup really, and where even we have to interact with many other people who are already YouTubers and stuff. And the one difference that we found so we have competitors in the same space, right? What they do different is that they're very transactional. They there's a company that has an app.
Let's give them even more context. So basically what we do is that we connect brands to bloggers as well as manage a YouTuber or a blogger's events, or like we'll get them events. Basically helping them make money. Now there are apps which do what Tejaswin did.
Yeah, so then basically it helps, it's very transactional, and there is no human trait in this business for something as basic as empathy. Where I think we are trying to make ourselves different, and I think that's exactly what you mentioned, but in different words, where it comes down to human relationships and empathy.
Like the apps, now the way their business model is different is that now there's a platform. I'm a YouTuber and we make money primarily through brand deals. Now those companies will give the YouTuber access to an app, and you have to just like an offer will be put in front of you. Okay, so and so companies come, then they want to publicize their shoes. Do you accept? Do you reject? And it's a one-touch thing, which is a brilliant business model because it's expandable
and it's super scalable.
Yes, it's scalable. But the thing is, a lot of times a YouTuber, a blogger, they want that little bit of human connect from their agent. Like I have Tejaswin and other co-founder Viraj who call me all the time and they'll ask me, okay, so this tissue paper brand has come up for a brand deal. Bro, do you want to do it or should I just say no? Because they know that I'm a fitness blogger, I'm a fashion blogger. Why would I do something with tissue paper? That is where, I mean, I'm trying to give the listeners a context about that human touch element. In saying all this, I also want to put out one more point there. So what I feel when you're talking about empathy, a lot of young engineers, especially who are getting out of engineering college in Bombay, they are going into this craze of a startup where they don't actually have a business model. So when you break it down, it's like, I feel like you need to have a dhanda first before having a business model. At the end of the day, business is like buying something for 1 rupee, selling it for 2 rupees. A lot of people don't look at it that way. They all look at, oh, chalo, we'll raise investment, things like that. And they get caught up in that. So I want to ask Pranav first, because he's working in like the Indian startup space. Do you see a lot of this happening? Because as engineering college grads, we see this all the time. Where
there's absolutely no two ways about it. And I think there's many ends of the spectrum here. I've interacted with guys from or students from founders from tier 1 to tier 4 universities, and sometimes I've actually found that the tier 3 and tier 4 university founders often know more how to do business than a tier 1. Again, I would not ever make a blanket statement because I mean it doesn't make sense to. But at the end of the day, experience and exposure is extremely important. What happens more often than not when you go into engineering or any professional degree, I mean, I went to law school, right?
Yeah.
And the thought process was very similar. It's very funneled, right?
Yeah.
You're doing what you're doing and your realm's seen within that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
What happens when that bubble bursts and you suddenly land on your ass?
Yeah.
Like what's going to happen there, right? You don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the battle I think a lot of founders from engineering colleges are perhaps playing, but they find themselves in a position where they're extremely sought after, right? Everybody's looking for their CTO, right?
Why are engineers, especially in India, so much in demand, especially in the startup space? It's not that all of us know coding and all that, we're terrible coders, but I always see that engineers are given some kind of priority even in terms of finance jobs. Like we had Ernst & Young coming to college, and they went to other colleges also, but they'd always kept a maximum number of seats for engineering college students. Why do you think that is?
So I think what's really emerging more as a very important area or skill set is not necessarily just technology or technical, but what we refer to, I think, as techno-commercial.
Okay.
Right? And I feel that's where someone who, for example, from an engineering background, but perhaps with the aptitude to work at a consultancy or to work somewhere like that, could grow over a period of time. Okay. Right? Because you have basic understanding of certain elements of that space, right? If you're an electronics engineer and you're working in a firm who does hardware investments, you will probably have a little bit more insight than somebody who went to art school and is now investing, right? Yeah. So I think that's a little bit of a leg up that will definitely be there.
Do you see that trend a lot? Do you see mostly engineers only coming to you who want to
start up something?
No, actually, strange as it may be. I actually think most engineers don't want to be incubated.
Okay. Why do you say that?
And I'll be, again, not a blanket statement, but from what our interactions have been, is because, like we said, there's a certain level of belief that nahi, mere ko to koi paisa de dega. मैं अभी 15 लाख लेके या 20 लाख लेके, why should I work for 12 months and slog my backside off when I can show some vanity metrics in a short period of time, perhaps, and try to raise some money, right? So we keep telling each of our the chase value creation, not valuation.
Correct.
So that is extremely important, man.
I like how these human traits come inside, man. It's something as simple as dropping your ego, probably. Which others can.
I completely agree with that. And I feel that is getting lost somewhere, especially at least all the startup people I've interacted with. Most of them in Bombay, they're not chasing that whole dhanda thing. So I met Pranav like a month or two back, and he spoke about really liking Gary Vee's content. Primarily because Gary Vee speaks about, so for giving the listeners context, Gary Vee is this influencer from the US. He talks a lot about like the core of his beliefs is hustling.
So he's a very real. I want to jump in and give a little bit more context there because I absolutely love that man's content, right? I think that's doing him a little bit of a disservice by calling him an influencer. He's the man who took wine online. In 2003, he spent 1 year creating content which got 15 views, 20 views. Wine Library. Wine Library TV, right?
Again, to give the listeners more context, wine, we're referring to sharab, like daru. Anyway, go on, Pranav.
So this man came from nothing, where his dad was an immigrant from Soviet Russia going to the US, and he built out a huge wine business, and then he got bored.
And what did he do next? Uske baad?
Vayner Media. Vayner Media is probably one of the most sought after media agencies for content development, brand development in the United States of America today.
Wow.
He does a daily vlog. Every single day. In fact, just earlier today I was watching, I think it was yesterday's, where he was with this kid, you know, the kid who went viral. I don't know, that funny dancing kid with a backpack. He was in Katy Perry's song also. I don't know if so there was this one kid, all right? He had about 300 viewers, followers on Instagram. And he did this extremely funny dance just to sort of be silly. And it got picked up by a couple of large channels and people. And it just went absolutely viral, right? This guy today is at about 790,000 followers.
Wow.
And this is from Jan 2016 to today, because that happened in Jan 16, right? And he was having this conversation with Gary Vee about building for today and building for 20 years from now. And Gary Vee said one thing very simply, and that's about valuing time. He's like, people today people today offer me $90,000 or $100,000 to go and speak for an hour, even in New York City.
Yeah.
Like 10 years back, somebody offered me $5,000, flew me out, gave my hotel, did everything. I'd be like, yeah, I want to do this. I'm happy to do it. Right?
Yeah.
He's like, today if somebody pays me even $150,000 or $100,000 to be in New York and go give a talk,
Yeah.
I can make more money in that much time.
Yeah.
Right? It just doesn't make sense. Why am I taking 10 random meetings? These are his words. Why am I taking 10 random meetings with a guy like the kid who went viral who he was talking about?
Yeah.
He's like, because I'm not investing in the next 20 minutes. You're 15, you're 16. I'm investing in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, man. Oh,
So
yeah.
that just fucking brings so much context to relationships.
Yeah.
Right? And that's all we try and bring it back to every
Yeah.
time. Have a conversation. Like, we want to be the person where when shit's hitting the fan, that's when I want that founder to know that they can depend on us.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're not the fair by the friends.
Yeah.
Like a big bro in startup,
Yeah.
something like that.
I mean, we're a young team, man. We're an average age of 27 in this team, including the investment side of the team.
How big are you right now? Like, how many people, how many startups are you?
Also,
is that
the business
that a-
model.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll come back. Sorry, yeah, I missed
Is that a
way.
metric, by the way? Like, how many startups are you incubating? Is that correct?
Not for me, because it's quality over quantity.
Okay.
If I find one good company, we'll work with one good company.
Okay.
Obviously, look, I'm running a business at the end of the day. Nobody's doing charity.
Yeah.
So you sort of balance out your risk as much as you can. But we will never compromise on quality to have more companies. So coming to the model, for example, right now we invest between 10 and 20 lakh rupees upfront in each of the companies, whilst also giving them for 12 months incredible amount of resources and a physical office space of 6,000 square feet, where all the companies for that 12 months work out of.
Where are you located?
In Sakinaka.
Okay.
What we're trying to do in that complex is actually create a very self-sustaining ecosystem, where we actually have a pop-up food flea market coming up there, where every 3 months we change the food vendor in the cafeteria.
Wow.
Okay.
We have a football facility on the rooftop and a cricket facility on the rooftop. There's a fully functional gym, and that area is very sort of detached from everything going on outside. So for us, it was important to sort of provide the right environment that they could work in. We also have a team that sits from there, including us, from in-house accounts to content and communications to analysts to a product manager. All of this is not just our team at thinQbate, but also part of the teams that work from there.
Okay.
Only hire people as founders who will help you build product.
Yeah.
Everything else we help with.
Yeah.
We also provide things like loads of cloud credits across Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, IBM.
Yeah.
And there's various other frills perhaps that we also provide.
Basically, lots of infrastructure for their
Correct.
support. Yeah.
And we take equity in the companies that normally ranges for all of this, it ranges from 5 to 12% of equity. But one of the key things that we made sure of is that there's no burn, or which is leakage of money from your side. We don't charge you for any of the physical facilities that we provide. So that office space of 6,000 square feet, you're using it free of cost. Any revenues you earn as a company don't come to us, they go to the company. Right?
Yeah.
We're long-term partners. I only make money when my founders make money. Right? And that's the beauty of building a relationship. Because then it's a two-way street.
So for a business model like this, there'll be a lot of initial pumping of money, right? For a couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been very fortunate to work with good founders. So we're in a good place right now.
Okay.
But yeah, so we put together our personal saved up corpus to actually invest in these companies. And I think it's an educated risk. It's a
definitely.
risk. Look, there's no denying it's the toughest space to be in, man. Like most venture capital funds, which are like big money, like investors and fund managers, often don't make any money. And our risk is as high.
Dude, I want to ask you this. Again, you and Arjun, your co-founder at thinQbate, both of y'all are from family businesses. Like, you'll have your own family businesses. This is something I've always wondered, because I've had a lot of friends who have their own family's businesses, but then they choose not to do that. And my personal thinking is that if there is a business, why not just make that plant a tree? Like, you know, if there's something already existing or sitting on something, why not just do that? So can you just run me through what goes through your mind when you're saying, okay, no, I don't want to do the family business and I want to do this high risk thing instead?
So in all honesty, I think for Arjun and me both, we're both building a tree. That's the way we look at it, and just sort of responding in the way you put the question. We actually see it as a natural extension of the things that we were previously doing.
Okay.
So whether it be Arjun at Assemblage, where strategy and new business development is perhaps his primary domain as well, apart from obviously helping run the show, that was primarily my outlook when it came to my family office as well. We've diversified over the last 10 years from events production to hospitality to sport infrastructure to investments. So it's again, like I said, it's an educated allocation of my funds in saying that, okay, you know what, we're playing maybe a 5-year game with the incubator at the outset, and maybe a 10-year game with our long-term plan. And this is one of the elements of it.
Yeah. So we got to talk a lot more about how you select companies to work with and, how you help them. We'll be taking a break right now, and you guys can join us right after that.
Are you just bored of doing the same old things in your city? The LBB I Found Awesome podcast is here to give you top 5 things to do every week in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore and Pune from your go-to local recommendations platform across new restaurants, events, budget shopping, weekend getaways and lots more. Episodes out every Thursday on the IVM app, website and anywhere you get your podcast from.
So we're back, and we got to talk about what it takes to survive.
So we're back.
We got to talk about what it takes to survive as an Indian startup. We're an Indian startup, we need to know the shit.
Yeah, man. Yes.
So, dude, first of all, when you're picking out startups to work with, I know you look for people, but can you break that down a little bit more? Like, what kind of qualities do you look for?
Number one quality is integrity, right? And that's not something you get to see or experience overnight, right?
Yeah.
So we try and have perhaps longer term associations as far as we can before investing, and it also always helps us understand the person a little bit better.
So you work with the person for a little bit, you understand their culture.
So that hasn't been the norm, but that's where we're trying to move towards more when it comes to this particular year. Last year, man, I was just out there myself, hustling, going to events, meeting people. Because we were basically a 2-person team at the time. That's it. So there was no space, there was nothing. And I was just going out there and getting companies to say, hey, you're making sense, let's work. This year was a little bit different, where we were fortunate to get inbound leads. So that's when the challenge became, how do you quantify someone's EQ? Right, and how do you understand what makes them tick? Right. So it's trying to become more of we're trying to make it more of a process where we don't talk that much about their product. We don't talk that much about the market opportunity. I want the story, right?
Okay.
Why are you doing this? Like, what made you leave what you're doing to set up your own venture? Why do you think that regardless of your skill set, you're the right person to build for this industry, right? Because like I was saying earlier, I feel like there are certain skill sets and certain businesses that it doesn't matter what your age is, right? And I think with the growth of digital media, I think that entire so content is very subjective, like I said, right? This 10 people could like it, 10 people could hate it, right? But CFA ka kaam, you can't say ki usko acha laga aur usko acha nahi laga, right? So there are certain things that are very subjective, right? So we try and understand those subjective elements of people's decision making.
Their perspectives on things and stuff.
So we're actually working on something in-house which we're very, very, very far away from, but it's basically trying to figure out how we can quantify through gamification EQ of a founder. It's a moonshot in what we're trying to do.
But I get what you're saying, because I was having this conversation with Gumbair recently. We were talking about YouTubing in general, and I've met a lot of YouTubers, and I feel like a lot of YouTube success, at least not forget YouTube success, blogging success, boils down to who you are as a person. Like, can you stick through that whole process? Can you stick with getting all that hate? Can you consistently put out content? All these little things, and a lot of that boils down to single people. It's the same thing. It's more than the skill set. It's about who the person is in charge. And
absolutely.
I feel like that trickles down, and that applies to every single business out there. A lot of businesses that fail. again, coming back to the whole thing about the startup craze, so many guys are just going with the flow. Ki nahi, startup karna hai. They don't know what a startup is. They don't know anything about
Sabko
business.
CEO banna hai.
Exactly.
Card pe CEO dikhna chahiye.
So it's just something that a lot of younger people need to understand. First, I feel like before getting into the startup world or starting any venture of your own, work on your own EQ, like emotional quotient, but your own personal skill set.
Yeah, just work on yourself.
Yeah.
Like, see more things.
Exactly.
Like, do more things.
Yeah.
Right? Eat that different food that you probably didn't want to eat previously. Right?
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, I'm of the opinion that comes through the experience of probably having a failed startup. Like, still going into something like that, still starting something, even if someone doesn't have the skill set, very often they develop the skill set while going through the process. So I think that's one way to look at it as well.
Yeah.
Getting into something.
But again, that's the thing, right? So the question is, do you choose to upskill yourself at one go, or do you choose to upskill yourself every single day for the rest of your life? Right?
Yeah.
So if the latter is your choice, you're good.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you're an engineer, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you're learning every day.
So dude, like with thinQbate, have you had any experiences? Could you just give us a quick example of like someone who's just it up for themselves, like they've done something where you're like, okay, I don't want to work with this guy.
Yeah, naam do. Tell us the names and the company. Full details.
So we've the strange thing is that we've actually been very lucky to not be in a position like that. So out of the 6 companies we're working with, 5 are doing very well.
Okay.
3 are doing phenomenally well.
Okay.
Right? And we want to just keep up that hit rate. Right?
Okay.
We have a company that's cash flow positive for those people who, again, what is cash flow positive? They make more money every month than they lose.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are not those many, as simply put, right?
Okay.
There are not many startups, early stage companies
correct.
who can do that. That should be the goal. Not that I raised 200,000 or I raised 20 lakhs, 1 crore, 5 crores.
Yeah.
If you have more money than you're spending, think of it in the most basic terms.
Yeah.
Why would you then be held hostage by anybody looking to invest in you? Then you only look for somebody who brings you strategic value.
Yeah, correct.
Right? That's the approach that should be there. Build sustainability. Build a business for profit. Dhanda. Right? That's what people have to remember. At the end of the day, there is no charity. There's no benevolence. Right?
Correct.
Dhanda.
Yeah. Do you think that's why this whole thing about only 1 out of 10 startups succeeds? Most people go in with this. Like where do the other 9 fail?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's about what you quantify as failure to begin with, in my opinion, again. So in scenarios where we've worked with companies who may not have worked well or have failed, I've invested in my individual capacity also outside. Sometimes we've actually seen the founders grown. Like they've actually just grown as a person because that has affected them in a way that they would never make those mistakes again.
Yeah.
Right? So is that a learning? Is that failure? Right? Because who is it failure from? So if you say 1 out of 10 fail, or 1 out of 10 succeeds, or 9 fail, do they think of themselves as failure or do we?
Correct. Yeah.
So it's a
Makes
question
sense.
of what you're trying to position.
Say like 9 out of those 10 shut shop.
He's talking about like zero valuation. They completely lose business.
Or they stop operating. So what leads them to that? Like it can be one of many things, or do you feel like as someone who runs an incubator that there are certain common traits between all these people who stop?
I think a lot of people don't, in all honesty, don't realize how important it is to manage money. Like I keep saying the word cash flow, but it can really make or break your business.
Yeah.
Because you could be doing phenomenally well, but if you don't have money to pay your staff or to pay that software bill or to pay your cloud bill, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. So it's a lack of that, like it's a lack of financial skills?
I don't even think it's skills. It's just about, like I said, understanding and exposure. Because a lot of founders today are younger, right?
Yeah.
The skew is perhaps they don't have as much exposure to kya karna hai, kya nahi karna hai, kyun karna hai. Last year, now with GST, anyways, things are a little bit perhaps different. But I mean, I've seen companies who, I don't know if you guys are aware of what TDS or how service tax was filed earlier and things like that. मतलब वही तो बात है ना, मतलब कंपनी यू रजिस्टर्ड एंड इनकॉर्पोरेटेड 18 months बैक, फिर 12 महीने के लिए तूने ना तो टीडीएस भरा, ना सर्विस टैक्स पे किया, ना एडवांस टैक्स पे किया, ना कुछ किया. 18 months later when you try and reverse engineer all those horrific decisions that were not even, forget they were you didn't take them, you just weren't aware to take them, right? What do you do then?
But then again, like I really think it's more than just that. Like there's all compliances and stuff, and that's one part of it. But then it comes down to many human traits that these people forget in businesses. Because I'm sure you've been approached a couple of times where like, dude, this is my $1 million idea. Invest in me. Like let me join your incubator. Let me do this. But then they are lacking themselves as people, and we are surrounded by such people, man. Like not everyone is a hustler. Not everyone sees the light in the future, but when it actually comes down to working, many people will fail, and that's so giving a statistic like 90% of the startups fail, I think that's true for many other aspects.
But I can promise you, most founders at an early stage who said, "Okay, I have $1 million idea," most likely they don't. Right? If you're the person telling everybody else that you have $1 million idea.
Yeah. If you're really good, people will tell you. If you're really good at anything in life.
Absolutely.
If you're not sure about it, you will tell people.
Exactly.
So I'm going back to that. I think 90% of the people would anyways fail in other ventures that they take up in life as well, even if it's not a startup. It'd be just at life, you know, like.
Do you feel that? So again, I feel like no one is perfect. I'm gonna again give people like an example. Not context, because our producer told us not to talk about the word context. Again, I feel like when you're looking for co-founders, and this is something that we did, I am not good with money. I'm very good with marketing. I found Viraj, who is insanely good with money. I am not an organized person. Gumbair is insanely organized. I feel like that is another place that startups lose out on.
Huge.
And this is something I've figured even after interacting with a lot of people, with Mr. Vishal Gondal. I've interacted with Mr. Mahesh Samant, who's the Disney CEO, and they've all told me this, that in anything in life, in any career, surround yourself with people who will fill your gaps. Because no one is perfect. Everyone has gaps. Everyone has flaws. It's about what you do with your strengths, and then surround yourself with all those people who will fill all your
so I think
weaknesses.
there's two elements of one is always surround yourself, and I know you talk about this a lot in some of the content that you create, Ranveer, with just surrounding yourself with people who are going to make you better every day, right? And how important that is. And I say that you apply the exact same context to business and how you build a team, right? Surround yourself with people who are good at doing things you're not good at doing.
Right? Who are better than you are.
Absolutely. That. So I'll give you my example again. Sorry, not context. My example again. Arjun and I have very diverse skill sets. He comes from math and economics, investment banking, private equity, animation studio, and now running the incubator. Right? I am from law school, sports management, real estate, sports tech. In here. So we do completely different things. Right? So when it comes to pricing strategy and finance and things like that, that's his domain. Right?
Did you find any problems co-founding with, I'm going off topic a bit, but you said that he's one of your closest friends, right? You grew up together and stuff. Did you have any problem? Were you scared of going ahead and co-founding like this thing with a close friend? Because people don't do that generally. It's like a big...
I think it was a good decision. Like,
it's too early.
So we also like best friends, and we decided to like start this thing.
I think there are ups and downs, but overall it'll always work out because you know each other. Right? And I say this across every domain. Alignment of expectation. Right? Whether it be founder investor, whether it be founder, whether it be founder employee, your expectations need to be aligned. Right? So what you expect of the other person, whether it be with value, whether it be with time, whether it be with resource, as long as you're on the same page, you fight with everyone, man. You'll argue with everyone. Have an opinion. That's important. But if you're wrong, back the away. Right? Be ready to step away and move your ego away and say, okay, I was wrong. Listen, this is the right way to go and this is what you need to do.
Do you suggest that to some listeners who want to go ahead and are looking like in that stage where they're like, okay, should I be a co-founder? Should I look for my best friend who is also can be a co-founder with me? Or, there are Facebook pages up there, Startup Mumbai, for example, and they put posts looking for co-founder for this idea. Like, what do you suggest? What's the good way to go? Obviously,
I depend on I feel like my network. I don't know whether it's me individually or whether I could make a generalized statement, but I often fall back onto my network. And when I talk of my network, I think I talk of school, college, and what I've tried to build over the last 7, 10, 12 years. That's been the focus to a large extent. Because, like I said, for me, relationship is very important.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking at decisions that don't affect the short term and affect only the long term, but you need to make a decision, then you'd probably want to look into your network to begin with. Again, I know people who have met their founders on platforms, on online platforms, at tech meetups.
Yeah.
It happens. It most definitely can happen.
Does it ever turn out to be successful?
It can, but it wouldn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Because even if you meet that person at an event, right, you're probably going to spend the next few months just chit-chatting, interacting, catching up, hanging out, trying to understand if you guys even gel together.
Yeah.
Right? So
I feel that's the most important thing. Like, the people you work with, you should be able to chill with them also.
Yeah.
This is something...
But you also need to switch off.
Yeah.
So that's another thing which we find is extremely, extremely important. That once
From each other?
Not from each other. It could be from each other. It could be from work, from whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I don't, honestly, I don't practice as much as I preach on this topic, because it's very hard to switch off when you're close to something.
Yeah.
And you're sort of living something, right? But again, if you're playing the longer term game, you have to be able to switch off, or you'll just burn out in 10 years.
Yeah. Dude, that's the other thing I wanted to talk to you about. The last time we met at Indigo Delhi, we spoke about this, about burning out.
Yeah.
At that phase in my life, I was burning out from work. Like, we had just started the startup, beer biceps was happening, and I wasn't able to switch off from work. Now, what I feel is that in any business, there is 2 stages, and it's kind of like a rotation thing between these 2 stages. So there's a struggling phase, and then there's a plateau where you figure out, okay, chal, I've built this now I can take my foot off the pedal a little bit. Then you build further. That's how you climb the mountain. That's what I feel. And you're someone now who's working with all these startups. Everyone is in that building phase. There's so much stress and all that. Do you personally struggle with this whole thing about not stressing about work and all that?
I feel like I actually enjoyed the earliest phase of the 12 months even more than I enjoyed the last few months.
Okay.
Because so many things that you do, so many decisions you make, you literally see it affect business over the next few months.
Yeah.
There's something, I don't know, something pretty, for me at least, pretty magical about that. That things you did, actions you took, decisions you made resulted in a business going from point A to point B. Right? I love that. Because then you can just sort of see it. Like, I keep coming back to the first company I invested in. Today, they have done now almost $500,000 plus of sale. They're manufacturing in Shenzhen. Awesome. They've just, in fact, left this morning for Dubai for GitX, which is one of the largest electronics shows that happens. The CES and GitX are 2 of the largest. And yeah, man, I can't be more chuffed for those guys.
Yeah.
They're awesome. So when it comes to funding, right, they focused on product. They raised only a small amount of money from people they knew and had interacted with for a few months. Right? They helped them build out the product. They went and sold a load of product. And somebody came calling. They now have enough money because the person who came calling invested in them. Right? And they're now moving into, like you said, phase 2. Every phase you recalibrate. You have to, because your battles are different. Cool. When you're starting out, you're battling yourself. The minute you go into the middle market, you're battling people in the market as well.
Do you feel that this is something that a lot of startup founders, people just involved in startups, struggle with, switching off from work?
But it's normal. If you're running a business, if you're close to something, if you're passionate about something, you will think about it. That will happen. But I think, so my 2 people say this to me. One is my dad, who says this to me extremely regularly, and another is a tech advisor we have at thinQbate. One is early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, and one is late 50s. And both said something that, to me, I guess at this stage will never make sense, but I guess only time will tell. And they said that patience and that composure and that understanding will only just come with time.
Okay. So right now, because we're young, it's all like, I want something to grow. I want this to...
Just be patient.
So even, just like, I wanna, what did your family business, what's your family business about, initially? Did you work in it at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
So did you have any carryover? Did you learn anything from it that you're actually using in an incubator?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is just help run businesses, right?
Yeah.
The more businesses you run, hopefully the more equipped you are to understand how to run a business. And that's, there's loads of learnings. Even at my parent company, when I go to the office there, my dad, my brother and I all have our own space and our own cabin to sit. But I don't think we've ever sat in a different room. And that's been there since my granddad was in the business. We're 4th generation. So it's been there. The families just somehow, they've all just sat together. There's enough space for everybody to sit in their own rooms. But they've just somehow sat at the same table. All through the day. Sat at lunch table together. 1:30's lunch. That's just it. Right? Because that learning for me is so much more. In the years when my granddad was there and my dad was there and I was just sitting and watching. Right? That's that I mean that for me that's a complete intangible.
Yeah, that's the culture that you probably help bring, to these startups that you are helping.
A lot of startup people, again in my experience, I've seen that they're not from business families. They're not familiar with the whole business thing.
Yeah.
And this is something again you learn with experience. If that experience is coming through something like an incubator, it's freaking fantastic.
But I think exposure and sort of your education, your exposure and everything is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
Because we said thinQbate, think macro, work micro.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, we got to move away from business a little bit, and we need to talk about Cricket Gandu. What is Cricket Gandu, Pranav?
When I was basically trying to create content and get my views out on social media back when I started out in college.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if you're like the people who are going to be watching this there's somebody known as Bollywood Gandu, right?
Man.
Bollywood Gandu has gone on to become.
Yeah.
So it was a spawned off idea from Bollywood Gandu.
Okay.
Who is Bollywood Gandu?
So Bollywood Gandu is publicly people know now as Karan Talwar.
Yeah.
Karan's actually my brother.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So he's my first cousin, but I mean we've been he's 10 years older than I am.
Okay.
But somehow we've always been extremely close.
Yeah.
When he moved back to India in like 2008 and nobody knew what stand-up was in India.
Yeah.
It used to be awesome, man. The entire SNG crew back then. I used to live by myself at a place in Bandra.
Okay.
So more often than not, we used to have, whether it be Thakur or Katie or any of them would be there, and there'd be, for example, whether it be jamming, writing, and it used to be awesome because there was no exposure, right? I was like, what the f- is going on? Suddenly these guys are going and performing at like multiple locations, and there are people and they were getting paid $7,000 like a show at that time, $5-7,000, and I'm talking about like 8 years, 7, 8, 9 years back.
Okay.
And shit's changed since then, right?
Yeah.
Things have gotten very, very different.
Yeah.
So he threw me an idea saying, hey, listen, you love cricket, you always have an opinion on cricket. Let the world know. So I said, okay, let's do this.
Cash in on that.
Yeah, cash in on that.
Was there a business model behind it? Like,
I mean, I made money, if that's the question. I made money from Cricket Gandu, yes.
Okay.
Did you enter with the business model? Did you have something in mind?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. My mind was, dude, I honestly, I have an opinion on everything.
How old were you that time?
17, 18. Because I went to college at 17 to law school. So I would have just turned 18 when I started that out.
Okay.
Built it for a few years. I stopped. Other things took priority over the last, 4 or 5 years. And I keep asking myself the question of whether whether my timing was off. I was 5 years or 4 years too early.
Yeah.
And 3 years out too early.
Dude, you did influencer marketing like back then.
Yeah. So, I mean, I worked with, from Group M to Experience to, you name the agencies, the brands we've worked, like we were talking about alt cricket, right?
Yeah.
Alternative cricket. Nishant, he's one of the legends of the cricket influencer space. We've worked with everyone, and it's been awesome. Like we have, I had a few Indian players following me, Ranji Trophy players following me. It used to be cool, I used to go for Ranji games back then because I was much younger. Even when I came home for a break from college, I had time to around, just chilling. I used to go Mumbai. I was playing in Mumbai. I used to go to Wankhede. I used to go to BKC, and I used to just sit for the day and watch some Ranji Trophy. So as a result of that, I was extremely involved. Like even in school, sports was my thing always. So it just built. It just kept building, kept tweeting, kept creating some form of relatable content. And made some money from that, man. It was good pocket money when I was at college.
Yeah. So what exactly was the business model? What did you all do and how did you make money exactly?
So I basically made money working with brands on campaigns. I mean, today
This is on Twitter primarily.
Primarily on Twitter.
Okay.
Because back then, the only kind of influencer marketing that really... And strangely, it actually wasn't as direct from time to time. Today, you see a lot of influencers just like copy-pasting shit. Right?
Yeah.
Brands just give you the copy, you wrote it and you sent it out. That's horrible, man.
I actually think that'll work, man. Like, and out of nowhere, like the prettiest girl will go like, oh, I use this smartphone. Even yours should. I'm like, why would I take smartphone out of my
Really, that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So even back then, but these guys were thinking differently even back then. So even if you had like 2 promoted tweets, they were still not generic to the extent that you'd think that some idiot has written this in some copy team somewhere because it just doesn't make sense and nobody's going to understand what they're saying, right? They gave you the freedom.
Yeah.
That listen, you talk in your tone because people want to hear you.
Yeah.
They don't want to they don't want to hear me on your channel.
Correct.
Right? They want to hear you. Tu baat kar.
Yeah,
Right?
and I think that is still an issue that we face with brands, because there are some brands who come over, for example, with Beer Biceps Ranveer, they will want things to go their way, and they won't understand the creative tangent
or
of how to
even,
present.
even the marketing perspective about this thing about direct marketing where you copy paste what they've said doesn't work with audiences, but for some reason a lot of brands don't know this. They look at marketing as like how it's done on TV. कि ये अपना ad है, तू भी अपना ad ही बोलेगा. But it's not like that. I have to say it in my style. I have to that's why
how many pieces of content have you seen where if a large comedy company or content company today is created for a brand, the video has gone out on the content company's YouTube page as well, YouTube channel, as well as the company's YouTube channel. Look at the number of views; they'll be relatively similar. Look at the engagement. There's call on the brand's page.
Yeah, always.
Right? And that's why it's extremely important to let people who are good at speak and in their own fashion. Right? Because that's what people want to listen to.
Dude, so I have to ask you this. There is this concept of a Martha Stewart model. So Martha Stewart is this lady who in somewhere in her late 30s or early 40s, this is in the 1980s. She figured that, okay, I really like cooking. Let me just write a cookbook. And she put it out there and then it sold a lot of copies. Then she wrote books on home decor. And then she just started writing books on these random, I don't know how to put it, like maybe, things for women who primarily mostly at home or something like that, like catering to that audience. And she built a massive fan base out of that. Today, she herself is worth $1 billion. So that is called the Martha Stewart model. In India, it's called the Sanjeev Kapoor model. He used to make butter naan and all in
Khana
the 90s.
Khazana, man.
And now his face...
I grew up with my grandmother and my mother at some point or another having seen Khana Khazana. If you're a 90s kid, 80s kid, like they're 90s kid, you have to have seen
Khana Khazana.
They had like Monopoly, right? And on, I think, Star Plus.
Yeah. So prior to YouTube, I wanted to become a chef, and one of the inspirations was Sanjeev Kapoor as watching Khana Khazana. But the longer I kind of figured out, I mean, like when I figured out my life, I figured that nahi, mujhe chef nahi banna, mujhe sirf TV par aana hai. That's why I did YouTube. Anyway, that business model where Sanjeev Kapoor now has put his face and name on masalas, he's put his face and name on pickles, on kitchen utensils.
He has a restaurant.
Restaurants, just multiple food related businesses. That is called a Sanjeev Kapoor model or a Martha Stewart model for any blogger. Now, do you feel like this is one of the future business models of the world? Because that is what a lot of bloggers are trying to do. I'm pretty sure not many are going to get like very, very far in this. But do investors, do incubators look at bloggers and say, okay, there's a lot of potential for business here?
So that's actually a very interesting question, because we've had this, I wouldn't call it argument, I would call it more a very illustrative conversation from time to time at the office. We've just spoken about whether what do you invest in, right?
Do you
invest in a person? Do you invest in a traditional business? Do you invest in something that hasn't been seen? Should I just buy some Bitcoin? Or is the Bitcoin wave over and I should buy some Ethereum? Or should I buy some Lumens?
I have the same questions. I was just by the way.
So that's basically it, right? Where do you want to allocate?
And
you have to keep coming back to the question of where can you build a sustainable business and kya tum dhanda chala sakte ho, right? The traditional way of doing business, like you actually mentioned earlier on, which perhaps my father and grandfather grew up, you took this product at 10 rupees, you marked it up to 12 rupees and you sold it, right? So that was a traditional brick and mortar model of running business, right? Shit's changed, man. You can do anything today.
Can you explain that to like the average 21, 22 year old who doesn't understand what...
So explain how things have changed?
Yeah, how things have changed. Through an example.
Okay. I wouldn't say for the good or for the bad. Again, I'll take the example of what I was saying with Bitcoin and things like that. So, you know how like in equities market, like in India, we have IPOs, initial public offering. Something that's become a craze around the globe. ICO. Initial coin offering. Right? And it's a $2 billion market already. $2 billion. Right? People don't even know what cryptocurrency is. They don't even know what blockchain is. And $2 billion. That's insane. Right? But what that also shows you is that there is opportunity. right? So today, you could build a product on a new technology layer that doesn't need 10 years to mark up and grow. Because you could just create a new category for yourself.
Correct.
And that's what's shifting, right? People are just creating new categories. Whether it be with marketing, whether it be with whatever. You look at influencers, right? Back 10 years ago, everybody was an influencer.
Yeah.
Now you have fashion influencer, you'll have a fitness influencer, you'll have a food influencer, you'll have influencers across the board.
Correct,
right?
correct.
So each of those subcategory niches have now become categories.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way it'll always happen, right? And today you can create categories fairly quicker than you could have previously. Why? Because you can reach the end customer. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Back in our parents' days, it was not as easy to reach the end customer, right? Just with basic technology access.
Yeah.
Right? So even if today you're building, like with you guys, right? With Trillion and what you guys are building, like you can actually find, you won't need 50 people to run your organization. You'll need 5, 7, 10 solid folk.
Yeah.
The minute those 10 folk have been doing it for a year and a half, you can just wake up and say, hey, you know what? I want to set up in another city. Right?
Yeah,
and 2 of those folks from the original 10 are going to move to another city. Why? Because they can build the culture for the organization. Right?
Correct.
Layers. Constantly building layers, right?
Yeah.
But again, it comes back to the same point of patience.
Yeah. So tomorrow, if you were an influencer, if you were me, like if you were in my place, what would you do in terms of business? What would your business decisions be, say, over the next 2-3 years?
Think long term.
Okay.
You don't even know where the market's heading. You don't even know the market you're in all honesty, to a large extent, most people in this space, right? Be consistent, be regular, and just keep churning it out.
Do what you do best.
Yeah, just keep doing what you do best.
Yeah.
Because people are validating it with their time. Right? People are spending times on their smartphones, on their PCs, their stuff, whatever it is, and watching the shit you create.
Yeah.
Right? Are they spending more time doing that than they previously spent reading a newspaper? Did they previously read a newspaper at all? What were they doing? You suddenly captured the attention of people and you're holding them there.
Makes sense.
So just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And just actually adding to that, so you talk about investing in an influencer. 5 years back, I don't know if Katie will kill me for even saying this, but 5 years back or 6 years back, a friend of mine, Aditya, and me, we actually back then made an offer to Bollywood Gandu when he was growing.
Oh, okay.
Right? Back then, we tried to hustle and do our shit. You know, we'll take your business, we'll do this to it, we'll do that to it, we'll get to... And he basically said, off. But we actually made him an offer.
What did you all offer him?
We offered him money and all the resources and this reach and that reach and so on and so forth. We'll do fucking everything for you. You just do content.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He didn't need anybody. He's shown that himself. Right? He didn't need any external support to do anything that he was doing. But it happens. People look for it, right?
Yeah.
Because again, it's all about people. Right? Find a good person. Go along for the ride.
Your weaknesses.
Yeah, man. Go along for the ride.
Yeah. So, but do you think that there is potential to create another Sanjeev Kapoor model?
100%.
And is there, like, see, Sanjeev Kapoor is possibly the only guy in Indian food, like the one who's at that level. There are a lot of slightly smaller people. Now, do you feel that there is space in the world market for 10 Sanjeev Kapoors in 20 years?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I'll give you 2 examples of accounts on Instagram. Which I follow and I actually find extremely engaging too when it comes to somebody trying to like build out a business model around a brand, right? There's this artist who I think she's phenomenal with a caricature and a cartoons. You guys should check it out, called Alicia. I think it's Alicia Souza.
Okay.
And she, in the last few months, has started merchandising across different domains, right?
Okay.
From ribbon to mugs to decals to some really interesting stuff, right? And she's selling. Like she's popular. People are responding. People are engaging. And that made me actually wonder, like, is the future people looking for shared platforms? Or because it's relatively easier to build your own platform today, you're like, it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the next Sanjeev Kapoor.
Yeah.
Dude, so TVF, the viral fever from YouTube, they raised some money recently. I think it was like 60-70 crores. Some which was used for their office, their team. They've opened new channels. So do VCs and incubators look at these content creators?
For sure.
Saying, okay.
Absolutely, man.
Ki like, and say, there's definitely some profit to be made.
So it's the value of something visual. Right? Okay. Which will never ever be able to be replaced in my opinion. And again, I go back to Gary Vee again, but he once said this, that everything you know about your grandparents' generation, like we who are here possibly today and coherent to chat, you've heard from them. You've heard from your parents.
Yeah.
You've not seen anything.
Yeah.
We're probably the first generation. Anybody who's 40 and below now, this is the first generation who probably 5 generations down, they're going to be seeing your video.
Yeah.
They're gonna be seeing you being an asshole, being a good guy, being whatever.
I've thought of this a lot.
So the question is, what's your legacy? Right?
100%.
Because there's no hearsay in this legacy anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So the question is, if that's the way forward, then is that what you're going to be, should we be riding on? Right?
And I think like the whole discussion right now is about creating somewhat of a brand of yourself, and I think that's never gonna die, man. Like there are brands that you consume, and what you are talking about is making yourself that brand. You know, people are going to be coming to you for Ranveer Alabadia, for Sanjeev Kapoor, for the thing that you represent. And so that's
there is always like some kind of business opportunity if you keep doing your thing. So okay, we got to talk a little more about this. I don't want to leave this topic because it's interesting me a lot. But we got to take a break. After the break, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about a lot more.
Shunyavan, 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 Shunyavan.
$1 billion acquisition. Another copycat startup got formed.
No, the tech world in India is surely moving double the speed of this voiceover.
Tune in to Shunya One every Tuesday to catch us talking to the smartest people we know on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Okay, so we're back and we're currently talking about how you can just start making videos on YouTube and then create a business out of that. Pranav, bro, I've got to ask you this. Again, we coming back to TVF, there is something like 70 crores. I don't know for how much equity, I don't know how much equity they gave the investors. But on what basis do investors evaluate these people? How did they figure, okay, TVF is worth whatever, 140 crores and I'll take 50% for like 70. Why? Or whatever it was.
Look, I feel like, so there's a huge difference in like young companies. So TVF was obviously at a particular stage where a very large global fund came in and sort of played ball.
Okay.
They had validation to a large extent.
I mean, let's not forget, they were the first 1 million subscribers in India. Right? So let's not take that away from them at the end of the day. So even if they perhaps won't necessarily be the norm, they are probably the anomaly in this space. Because it's very hard to value subjectivity, right? So the way you value and how you figure out कि नहीं मेरे को इतना equity चाहिए, मेरे को ये चाहिए, this is how I want it. It's a
numbers game.
It is. Once you get to a stage where you're a revenue generating company, then like we keep saying धंधा है boss at the end of the day. Top line क्या है? कितना पैसा बना रहा है? कितने साल में मेरे को return देगा? वो तो सब सोचेंगे ही ना. I mean, these are basics at the end of the day. It's a financial decision. Sometimes it's perhaps a strategic decision.
Okay.
Right? Could investing in a business that perhaps would not give you a good return on investment. Like, I won't make enough money, but maybe there are 3 companies in my portfolio who could really, really do well working with this company.
Okay.
Is there a trade-off?
Wow. That's an insane way of looking at it.
But you have to, right? If you're building a portfolio, we do that with thinQbate. Like the 6 companies we have right now, our aim was to try to get each of them to work for the other. So we have a chatbot company.
It becomes like one family.
So the chatbot company is building chatbots for the loyalty company. The loyalty company is trying to build a loyalty solution for e-commerce and like merchandising for influencers and things like that. So share, right? Don't just like make it territorial. Share. Right?
This takes me back to one question that I had. So we keep talking about what investors look for, you know, like, because there are many people here many listeners who are thinking, oh, startup. So what do people who are in startups, what do they look for in investors? How do I choose an investor? When I'm going ahead and looking for investments or I'm looking for an incubator, what should I look for? Because even I need my perfect fit, right?
Do your diligence. Always do your diligence. Whether it's a investor doing diligence on a founder, I think the founder must also do diligence on the investor. Right?
So it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
Because many people just run for the money. Arey, kya valuation hoga mera?
So it's very simple. Anybody with money can write you a check. But can they bring any value to your business?
Correct.
If the answer is no, do you want that money from them? Right? And if you can't function without that money from them and nobody else who wants to give you any money, then boss, maybe that one guy believed in your pipe dream, but the market doesn't.
Correct. Yeah.
And also, we got to talk about just the last thing related to startups, okay? American investors versus like Indian investors, and the American startup scene versus the Indian startup scene.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they see the West, they're like, aisa ye unka system hua.
Yeah.
Obviously India mein hoga, but is it really like that? Like,
I think Ronnie Screwwala spoke something on. I was here listening to a podcast where he was a guest, and he spoke something along these lines where he said that in India, if you're going for investments or you're looking for investments, no matter which side of the table that you are on, there's a completely different expectation because the culture is very different in the way. So do you have an opinion on that, where American investors would probably look for different things in a company, would probably expect a different thing to succeed, while an Indian investor would do different things differently?
So I wouldn't necessarily say so on an institutional scale. On a professional scale, if we're talking about funds and this and that, look, we have some good funds in India. There's absolutely no two ways about it.
Yeah.
When it comes to angel investors, when it comes to like investors who are matlab, हाँ मेरे पास पैसा है, मेरे को डालना है, and then I help this business grow, right? That is not through a fund or anything like that. I think that's where the perhaps the difference sometimes comes in, right?
Okay.
That's where experience and maturity of the market also like makes a difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
In India, there are a lot of Me Too investors also. As like there are Me Too startups. For those Me Too startups to thrive, you need a Me Too investor. नहीं तो किधर से आएगा? पैसा नहीं आएगा ना.
Yeah.
So then the question is, if there are too many Me Too investors, what are they looking at? Are they vanity metrics?
Correct.
Right? That's why I said, like what I mentioned earlier, right? Each business, you got to find the trigger. Trigger in the founder, trigger in the business. Right? Yeah. Whereas it's a linchpin, like we keep saying the linchpin theory, right? Where what is that one data point that's going to affect everything in your business?
Yeah.
Directly or indirectly, and have that domino effect, right? Find those triggers. And I think a more mature ecosystem in the US with investment in general allows for an investor to have more ability to cut through the noise and ask the more pertinent questions. And ask more relevant things, in general. Because, I don't know, man. In India today, everybody feels कि हाँ चलो startup में पैसा डालेंगे, अपना पैसा बनेगा, ये होएगा, वो होएगा. It's really not easy.
Yeah.
Bro, speaking about that, about this whole, let's just go for a startup. I have a lot of friends our age, like around our age. They are sitting on like a lot of their parents' money. And they all get into startups. And, a lot of times they fail because they don't understand this Indian market. I also, we were just having this conversation outside the studio right now, where we were talking about how from school, either there are people who are like doing insane level stuff, they're doing something very hatke, or there are people who are not doing anything.
Yeah.
What does it like? Where do you think these people fail? Is it like not understanding this Indian market? And is that also the reason why those 9 out of 10 startups in India fail?
I think it's firstly right at the outside, it's about what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Do you want to spend 18 hours a day slogging your backside off because you see a return in 20 years? Or do you think that, look, I'm happy. Like, I'm happy to work 9 to 5, come back, hang with my friends, chill, have a drink, go out at night, and do that same thing all over again. If you're happy with that, man, go ahead. Great.
Yeah.
Right? Because what are you trying to do? Are you trying to make money, or are you trying to just like live a comfortable life and be happy? Right? So it's about what your ulterior goals are, right? I think it doesn't matter whether you have resource or not. It definitely helps when you have resource. There's absolutely no two ways about it. But you should never allow yourself to ask the question of what if, right? Okay. So guys with resource or people with resource who have started something and not managed to do anything with it, they probably know how to run their original business a little bit better because they up.
Yeah.
Right? Has that given them a little more information about what not to do with their actual business or parent company business? It's always, it's basically beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder.
That's correct.
Right? So it's just about how you position it, who the relevant two individuals or people you're talking about. All of that makes a difference to a very, very large extent. But if you want to be billionaire, then don't crib that you like spent 4 hours at the weekend doing something you didn't want to do.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So before we move to the final round, I just want to ask you this super quick. What would be your biggest 3 pieces of advice for someone who's just getting into the startup world. Engineers, 22-year-olds, don't know anything about startups.
Not only engineers, man.
Okay, I'm guessing there's a lot of engineers listening till this point, but just anyone getting into the startup world.
Yeah.
First thing, solve a problem that somebody is going to be willing to pay for. Right? It could be anybody. If you're looking to solve a problem, solve a problem that somebody is going to be willing to partake in.
Yeah.
Right? I think too often people try to solve problems that really don't exist or aren't really problems to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? Second, and probably absolutely most critical, be patient. And third, control the variables you can.
Okay. Like
don't think about things. Don't let things that you can't control your brain up.
Can you elaborate on this a little more, because this is too broad a topic to
Okay, so I mean, especially the last part, I'll just say timing plays a huge part in success. Luck sometimes plays a huge part in success, but you can't control that. Right? What you can control are your own actions.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right? What you have to ensure is that your conscience is clear that I gave it my all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So for me, that's extremely, extremely important. And don't complain.
Okay, so let's move on to slightly more fun.
Sorry, I think I was trying to not go too deep and not make it too very deep, but then you guys just went silent right at the end there, so
we were just absorbing that, man. We were just absorbing that. Okay, I'm gonna let Gumber take over for the Gumber.
Dun-da-da!
Quick.
Quickies. Okay, so it's like a rapid fire round. We're just going to ask you some really quick questions.
Okay.
And then you can, what comes to your mind first when I say this sort of shit. Okay.
So you want one word answer or phrase?
No.
That's up to you.
Yeah, that's up to you. Okay. So, what do you like? What's your favorite sport? Football, cricket, basketball? Cricket. Why?
I've been a big guy my whole life. Cricket involves more technical skill. Right? Even when I played football when I was younger, I always played center midfield or just ahead of the back four. Because my coach knew कि हाँ ये खेल सकता है पर ये भाग नहीं सकता है. तो उसको उस radius में खिला, like let him play there and he'll be good. Right? Cricket, I've always, even when fielding, I've always been a first slip. Okay. Extremely good with my hands, but I'm not very quick off the blocks. So cricket, I don't know. I've been really, probably the sport I've been best at.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Ranveer?
Me, what's my favorite sport?
Yeah.
I've
football.
No, it used to be football. The thing is, then with work, I ended up working on weekends, and then I just got out of watching EPL and all, and it's come back to cricket because it's more prime time. So I'm heavily into cricket currently.
Okay.
Yeah, but also I want to just ask you this super quick: are you going to do any more cricket-related businesses? Because if it's something that's so deeply engraved.
So the thing is, I'll be honest again, I'm finding the right individual to help me grow it.
Okay. But what do you have you have something in mind?
I do. I do have a couple of things in mind. But I know that it's not my expertise to build it out.
Okay.
Right? I know I have a good understanding of the space.
Yeah.
I have the passion to build something in that space.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to have the resource to build something in that space.
Yeah.
But the question is, the way I look at it, I need somebody for me who I can be their point person, and they're my point person in that particular industry.
Yeah.
Right? So like I said once, we've previously spoken, we mentioned alt cricket. Nishant and I have spoken previously as well about, because as things stand today, I've landed myself up in a space that I love doing what I do, and I would not step away from it to start something else, but I would be more than able and happy to help build that out if somebody wants to join me. So if anybody listening, guys, you like cricket, check out Cricket Gandu. I haven't tweeted or posted in a while, but if you like any of the content and you think you're the best meme maker on this, or cricket meme maker on the face of this earth, let's have a meme off. Let's meet. I'd actually love to pick your brains and see how we can work together.
Where can they get in touch with you?
Okay, so you can just drop me a line at Cricket Gandu. Most frequently visited on Twitter.
Yeah.
So drop me a DM, drop me a message on Twitter, and let's chat.
Cool, I'll be following you right away, man. Okay, so in today's time, we have, because of the social media and internet, we have access to many thought leaders. For example, like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and the things that they say, I mean, it's crazy. So whose ideology or whose journey do you connect with most?
I think I'm too young, man. Like, I haven't had a journey yet, or I'm going to connect with someone on that.
Yeah.
Like, I can admire a journey.
Okay, so whose journey do you admire the most?
I keep saying Gary V.
Oh, Gary V.
Like, man, that guy just like he's done some insane shit.
Yeah.
Like Elon Musk look insane. Like people firstly think he built PayPal.
Didn't he? Wasn't he like involved
Peter
in
Thiel built PayPal.
Okay, yeah.
He built
sorry.
X.com, which was bought, like they merged with PayPal when the .com bust up happened in 1999.
Yeah.
And then they worked together to build out the company. The money, if I remember correctly, the money he made from his stake sale in PayPal eventually was about 140 million or something like that back in the day. And I think he had run out of it in a few months and he was sleeping on a friend's couch.
Okay.
Because he's just all in, man. That's the kind of guy he is. That's why he is where he is today. If you guys haven't this, Elon Musk does this one talk on The Boring Company.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody who hasn't watched that should just watch it. It's beautiful to watch someone make so simple logical sense to a process and technology that's you're just never going to understand.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. So the fact that you mentioned Gary Vee over everyone else, do you look for that motivational element in the people in the way that they present themselves to the world?
Oh yeah.
And that.
Oh yeah.
But why? Does it help fire you up on like a personal level?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does. And I think it's important. Like conversations, talking, ability to like just emote.
Yeah.
Right, is so important. And you mentioned like Ronnie Screwvala, right? So Ronnie, there was this talk he was doing in Bangalore a couple of years back, and he was talking about everybody finding a CTO for their company.
Yeah.
And why is nobody finding a COO, Chief 483 officer? And that's how we started looking at it, that we need to have a Chief 483 officer.
Yeah.
Right?
Like
somebody who can talk for the brand.
Okay.
Somebody who can represent the brand.
Yeah.
Right? For most influencers, you probably are that person.
Yeah.
Right? And you'd probably be looking for a CTO or a CFO or somebody who's going to
who can help run the business part of what you do.
Correct. But if you're a techie and you're good at that, don't try and be something that you're not. No?
Yeah.
Find someone who'll enhance what you already do.
Yeah. Correct.
Rather than replace.
We had the same discussion with Angad where even he spoke about making the same mistakes in his previous startup where he was trying to be a CEO. He was trying to be something, trying to fill up his own gaps, which you can't.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the one, so because you're so involved with so many startups, what's the one mistake you see startups making all the time? In business, in any aspect?
I think it's the same thing of, fund flow, man. Like cash flow.
Is it, can you explain that?
Yeah, just keeping track of
expenditure.
Yeah. But is it that important to like break even that fast?
No, don't get me wrong. It's not.
Okay.
It's not important, but you have to make sense, no?
Yeah, you have to run a sustainable business.
Okay, if you tell me that, okay, you know what, I have a 24-month plan or I have a 30-month plan to look at breaking even.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Correct.
Right?
But you should have a plan.
Show me how that plan makes sense.
Correct.
Logic. Just nothing else.
Yeah.
Right? People work on assumptions.
Yeah. Right? You can't just keep pushing it because then that one day is going to come where you end up pushing it. I think we just have like 6 months more left.
And I'll actually add to that point and say the second thing that I would probably, I see a lot, I feel like is people spending time on things they know perhaps are not working.
Okay.
Like not killing off their business.
Like know when to withdraw your...
Yeah, if something's not working, shut it down.
Yeah.
Don't be like, oh, मैंने business चालू किया, मैं बंद कैसा करूँगा?
That's the same thing. You get too attached to your baby. Yeah. And you need to be detached to every bit of it. Again, that's a human trait that you bring into into business. Yeah. Okay. What's the biggest turn-off as an investor when you meet a startup founder or someone who wants to look for investments?
Something that I personally don't like, honestly, is arrogance.
Do you see that a lot with like startup founders?
I feel like you not that much, but there is. I mean, look, if you know you have a good product, be proud of it, be confident of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I see like some guys who come from like IIT, or we just graduated IIT, we've done this, we've done that, or we have a 10 crore business. But you're at prototype.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have 50 customers.
Yeah.
You have 10 pilots which are not even paid for.
Do you as like again as someone who runs an incubator, do you see a difference in the level of intellect in IIT people who come to you with business ideas?
No, absolutely. Look, there is it's not just IIT. It's not just one institution. I feel like I keep coming back to like exposure and education is very important.
Yeah.
Right? So the better the university you hopefully go to, the more exposure you probably had in your education sphere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
So it opens your mind up. Like I'll give you an example of doing the IB also. Right? I personally did the IB. I loved something they had called TOK. Theory of knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it was about lateral thinking.
Okay.
I loved it.
Can you break that down like a little
Like
bit?
just like it's asking the question Q to everything.
Okay. But why?
But why?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you can get that loop to actually click, you can close that loop. You'll be like in a Zen state, man.
Yeah.
Right? So it's anyway.
I also feel that that's a flaw of like the Indian education system, but especially engineering, where they teach you to think in a tube. Ki, nahi, this is your life. Even something like, nahi, I'm going to not do one of the three options. That's an MS, MBA, or an engineering job after engineering is a huge thing.
Yeah.
When people found out I was doing YouTube, they were like, kya kar raha hai?" Because they're used to living in that tube. This is a skill you need. Look outside the box. This is something that can help you in business.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, coming back to this.
Okay, so who's the first person you think of when I say the word successful? Can be anyone in the world.
I actually thought of, because we've been talking about, I thought of Elon Musk.
Okay.
Because I guess it was just in the back of my head.
Yeah. Somewhere do you have this dream, like on a personal level again, of like having his kind of legacy?
I want to carve my own legacy, man.
Yeah. Something original, but okay. Got it.
So it sounds really crazy, but so I don't know if people watch Hindi movies, but there was this movie called it was called Dhan Dhana Dhan Gol. It had John
watched
Hammond,
it.
right?
I love that movie.
Yeah.
So I remember watching that movie when I was younger. I don't know what to say to that, but I remember
It's okay,
watching
man.
that
Give it to me. Give it to me.
and there was a line in that movie, and it went by Hindustan choda hai, Hindustaniyat nahi. And I remember going out of that sort of hall that day, and I remember saying to myself that I'm going to apply the same line to my context and everything in life, and like how I live it, right? Not with leaving India and I don't leave my Indianness, but it was always a case of I don't necessarily believe in the norms of society. I like living life the way I like living life. I'm happy to set them. Right? I want to get myself in a position where I can set my own norms. Right? So create my own legacy as far as I can.
Okay. Cool. That's awesome. So, okay, so now a little more thoda fun side pe. What's your favorite hangout spot in Bombay?
Ooh. So it's strange because I actually, like, my house is like an adda. So if you ask me hangout spot changes, it may be since school. Yeah. So since school, my house has always been an adda.
Everyone comes over.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's always been like that since I was in like high school.
Okay.
So that's still the case now, even though I'm married now, but that's still exactly same. That's the situation. My house is the adda.
Okay. Your first ever poster, if you were ever a fan of anything?
Ooh, Sachin Tendulkar.
Oh, that's awesome. And are you into music?
Yes.
What kind of music?
All kinds and all. I grew up listening to a lot of Hindi music. I listened to a little bit of rock.
What's your favorite rock song?
Oh man.
Or artist?
I used to actually listen to a lot of Def Leppard growing up.
Oh,
again, so Karan, Bollywood Gandu. He was a huge influence on me growing up as well, and he used to love. If I say this publicly now, Katie, if you're ever going to hear this, I'm letting the public know that you loved Def Leppard at one point, even though you denounced them publicly. Because he's more of a Tool fan now. Yeah, I love Def Leppard. I still listen to a lot of Def Leppard.
Yeah.
So perhaps a little bit more along that.
Okay.
A bit more mellow. And I think over the last few years, I've been listening. In college, I listened to a lot of house and trance and
Deadmau5.
Yeah, so
that's the only house. When someone says deep house,
because so we
Deadmau5.
actually had in my final year we had there was a massive Deadmau5 concert happening in the city, Coventry, tiny ass city in England.
Okay.
So there was like 100,000 people at that place.
Wow.
And it was a banging. But I went for Radiohead.
Oh man,
I went.
Love Radiohead.
Yeah, at Glasgow, three of us, just after we finished IB actually, before I went to college, went to Glasgow and we saw Radiohead live, one of the most insane light shows I've ever seen in my entire life.
Okay.
So yeah, that kind of music, I've really listened to a lot of that growing up. I think last few years, my wife's music also has influenced me to some extent.
And that is?
We actually listen to a lot of Kygo. I like some Ed Sheeran.
Okay.
I actually listened to a lot of Kygo recently, Strangers It May Be.
Okay.
And I think, things across. I don't know what kind of genre is that? I don't even know.
Kygo?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Pop? Holy
Okay.
The mic just fell. I don't know, man. Kygo is what? It's electronic. I put it in. It's electronic.
Yeah.
Right?
So when somebody asks me on music, also I listen to. I don't have genres to answer because मेरे को नहीं मालूम है क्या कौन सा genre है. मतलब if it sounds good, I'll listen to it. It's great. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so that was the episode with the Punjabi powered podcast featuring Mr. Pranav Marwah.
Yeah.
Bro, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Pleasure.
This is gonna help like some startup crazy kid somewhere. This is one of those things that I didn't have personally. Like again, I've always looked at beer biceps as a startup.
Yeah.
Now starting out, there was no knowledge. How the fuck do I go about that? So one of the goals with Hustle Science, the podcast in general, was to give some kid somewhere a reference point.
Yeah.
So I feel like this episode hit the mark with that. Bro, thank you for being on the show.
And it's entertainment, man. Like, it's more than anything else. It's just, it's entertainment.
Yeah. Help entertainment.
Yeah.
So you should do a series on just like starting up without knowing it.
Yeah.
Right?
So with the podcast, we're kind of aiming to do that in a super raw form.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a structured way of doing it.
Maybe that'll be your first book.
For sure.
Well, second, considering your writing. But
I'm struggling with it, bro. That's another struggle.
It'll flow when it's time, man. It'll flow when it's time.
I hope so, man. Either way, I enjoy doing podcasts way more than writing and all that. Thank you for being on the show, bro. I hope you had fun.
Absolutely. Loved it.
I'm sure
Thank you guys so much.
Everyone benefited from this. If you've been listening to it till this point, you're a startup crazy dude. Go for that shit, my brother. So we'll see you guys later. Gumber, Pranav, Ranveer, signing off.
He bends down to test the warm water for his bath. He comes here to quench his thirst for a hot shower and some podcasts. You can witness how he enjoys having other people talk about cool stuff in his bathroom. Indeed, it helps him with his loneliness. You can find more of his pieces on ivmpodcast.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.